Hello. Different subject today, and yes, I did call somebody who posted on my YouTube under one of my videos yesterday. I did say tell this person that they were being annoying and stupid. I have since deleted the comments, but what the topic was about, this person wrote me and said something about, it's good that you came to your senses about religion. I mean, this isn't word for word what they said, but the gist of it was, now we need to work on your other beliefs. I inquired about that. What other beliefs do you mean? And they came back with something along the lines of, well, how do you feel about keeping animals in cages and breeding animals in captivity? And I answered, and this person basically came back and told me that I was good. I had good intentions, but I was wrong, and it pissed me off. It pissed me off because unlike religion and the various takes on religion and the mystical, magical, whatever beyond that we have no way to know what it is exactly. There is no right answer when it comes to the natural world. Or rather, there is. There really is a right answer, but we've blown that completely to shit. I think the right answer was the take of the indigenous life people that lived, here in what is now the United States. I don't know enough about indigenous. I can't even probably say that word right. Native populations around the globe, but the native populations that existed here, that lived here before Europeans came and the Spanish came, lived in harmony and reverence with their habitat, with their environment. They revered other life. They saw themselves as brothers and other life as their brothers. And I think that was the most successful, as far as the planet goes, as far as the natural environment, the most healthy and successful coexistence that at least is known by present day humans. Who knows how the Neanderthals and other more primitive human ancestors lived with or regarded the environment. I'm pretty sure that it's agreed upon that the mammoths were driven into extinction by humans. So it goes back a long way. The looking upon animals like they're just there for us to take as we please. But that's what I think. I think that the only right answer is what was the answer and the mentality that the native peoples had toward their world and their land and the animals that they coexisted with. I think when we came, when the mentality, I don't want to say we, because the mentality, it spans different races of people and different societies. It's not just white people or black people or your African people or whatever. It's a mentality, and I think unfortunately it's one of the major harms that has been caused by religion and speciesism that basically has taught that humans were made superior to all other life, and the world is just here for us to use up, and animals are just here for our benefit. And if a species of animal does not benefit us in some way, then it's just not really of any value, and it doesn't matter if it's wiped out. I mean, that's kind of the attitude toward the American Mustang. What benefits did these wild horses have? Well, they live. They have families, they have their lives, they have every right to live as human beings or any other animal species. But whatever. That mentality has been stomped out. We've taken animals into our care and made ourselves responsible for them, for their food, for their water, for their shelter, for their ability to survive. We've taken away what is natural for them, the natural things that animals are born with, their instincts on how to kill, how to find food, how to find water, it's just the basics. We've replaced. The more domesticated an animal is, the more we have replaced what comes naturally. Like I'm trying to think of the name of the whale. Keiko, I think his name was Keiko, the whale who started Free Willy. I believe Keiko was caught as a wild whale, but he lived so long in captivity that even though they tried very hard to prepare him for release into the wild again, he didn't live very long once he was released. We took something really important away from Keiko, his ability to survive in the wild. And animals that are taken and meddled with by human beings are changed. And you can't just undo that. You can't just make them all better. Once human beings muck around with animals, you can't just, I guess this person who wrote me has a real problem with the fact that I raise birds. I have finches and I have canaries. Those are the birds that I raise. I also have a few hookbills. My birds are happy birds. As happy as birds can be that are in cages. In a perfect world, there would be no birds in cages. In a perfect world, the habitats that some of these birds come from that no longer exist would still exist, and those birds would have a place to go if, in fact, we did let them free from their cages. But the truth is, some of the habitats no longer exist. The animals do because of captivity, because their species has been preserved and continued because of captivity and people who care. But if you were to let go these birds, I can't think of the name of the species, but there's a blue macaw, gorgeous bird. I believe it's the biggest or the largest of the macaws. Its habitat is gone. Where would it go if you let it go? If you released it from its cage, where would it go? And how do these animals survive if they've been in cages their whole lives, if they're born in cages? How are they to know how to survive? I have osprey that live across the street during the summer. Osprey are water hawks, seahawks, basically. They're the closest thing to seahawks that there are. And they bring fish back to the nest. And sometimes they bring small animals back to the nest. And they catch birds on occasion, if they can. My little birds, if I let them go, the first thing that they would have trouble with or the first thing that could be a huge danger, besides crows, and any other birds that attack and kill smaller birds, the osprey would be a huge problem for my little finches and canaries. Finding food would be a huge problem. They're used to having the food given to them every single day. They're used to never being cold. They're used to having no predators and no threat of predators. They always have water. I have large cages. I have natural branches in my cages. I switch the branches out so the branches are changed periodically, so the birds have different textures to put their feet on and different sizes of perches for their feet. They have dozens, I don't want to say dozens, that's an exaggeration, but each cage has several baths that I change every single day. They have fresh water to bathe in every single day. They get corn on the cob raw, because it seems to be a fact that all birds like corn. They get apples, slices of apple that they can munch on. They get slices of orange that they can munch on. They get egg food. I boil egg and mash it and then combine it with professional egg food, and that meets their requirement for protein, because birds in the wild don't just eat seeds, they also eat worms and bugs. Well, people who have birds in captivity don't always want to go out digging for worms and catching bugs. So you give them protein in other ways. And egg food is a good way, is a good source of protein for birds. And if you put some of the shells in with it, that's a good source of calcium. There's also cuttle bones you can give them. And you can give them powdered calcium. I'm not exactly sure if it's maybe seashells. And I mean, you meet their needs because you've taken responsibility for their lives. You bring them out of their natural environment, and you make yourself responsible for their lives, and you try to make their lives as happy as they can be in captivity. Now, the only other choice. Now, apparently, my answer is the wrong answer. I don't go out and catch wild birds and keep them in cages. I catch birds, I have birds that were born in cages. They've lived their entire lives in cages. That's all they know. They have their babies. Their babies are born in cages. That's all they know. Sometimes they get to fly outside the cages. They get to fly around the room. They get to really fly. I have 3 big aviaries. All the birds get to have a turn at living in the big cages and getting to fly. And I mean, they do aerobatics or whatever. They do tricks in the air. They do things. They practice their flying skills. They become strong flyers. I had a little canary escape last year. Flew right out the door, and I was like, okay, well, that bird's gone. Actually, it wasn't. It didn't get very far at all because it got tired. And they're not used to flying long distance. It would have been easy for any of the osprey to swoop down and just pick this bird up. One of my neighbors found it on the deck, one of the condos close by, looking really bad. It was scared. It was actually in the process of being stalked by a cat when she found it. She brought it back for me, and the little bird's been fine ever since, but now anytime I need to do anything with that little bird, catch it to put it in another cage or whatever, I always worry that it's going to die because it's not the same bird as it was before it got loose. Its heart is weak now. It acts like it's having some kind of respiratory or circulatory failure, and I always worry that it's going to die. I leave it alone, and eventually it rallies, but every time it'll start to sing in my hands, and then I put it in the cage and it just lays there. It's like a huge traumatic thing. So I try really, really hard to not move that bird because it's such a traumatic thing for that little bird. So yeah, just letting a bird out because cages are wrong and inhumane, I should say. Cages are wrong and inhumane. I'll tell you what I think is inhumane. I think taking a wild animal and putting it in a little cage in a zoo for its whole life, I don't think that's humane. Luckily, those kind of zoos are few and far between. They've been replaced. And I don't know about, we have several zoos here in Washington State, but the Woodland Park Zoo is rather well known for its environments, that its habitats that it has I'm trying to think of the word. They basically they replicate the animal's natural habitat from where it's from. And these animals have land to roam. I don't think all the species of animals in the Woodland Park Zoo have that, but I think a large percentage of them do. They have land to roam. The zebras could actually run in their habitat if they wanted to, and I believe the giraffes live in the same habitat as the zebras, and they can run. I mean, there's more. It's more like where they're supposed to be. And if you go to where they're supposed to be, it's not there anymore. It's like, okay, if you go to Africa, now I've never been there, but this is what I understand. It's not like it was 50 years ago. It's not endless tracts of land for animals to run wild and free. It's parks, just like the Woodland Park Zoo is a park, there's parks there too. And there's people that protect these animals in these parks and try to keep poachers from killing them. But the animals that don't get to live in these parks are fair game, and they're shot and killed by poachers. I think we've pretty much fucked with the environment. I think that the only thing we can do now is try to keep alive as many species as we can. And honestly, I wish that we could learn, they say that science fiction, a lot of science fiction is future science and eventually becomes future science. It would be nice to see societies start to grow up instead of out. Go up, go toward the clouds, build tall buildings, and shrink the size, the perimeter of these places that we live, and build up. Give back some of the land to the animals. Give back some of the habitat. Let the planet heal itself from what we've done to it, and give these animals that we have in cages a chance to live again in their natural environment. I don't know if it's possible. I think we've taken away the natural instinct that these animals have, but I also think it's possible to teach animals how to be wild. So that's my lecture. I honestly don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer. I think it's arrogant to tell somebody that they have good intentions but they're wrong. What is the right answer? There is no right answer. We've destroyed the right answer. It no longer exists. The only right answer now is to try to repair the damage. And the first thing we need to realize is that there is damage, and that life on this planet is precious, and not just human life, but all life, and that all life deserves to live. And to live naturally. And the only way it can live naturally is if we humans give up some of what we've taken and allow the planet to heal and allow these places to flourish again, so that these animals that now have no home can have a home. I have an unknown caller calling me from Dallas, Texas. My phone has a canary ringtone. So that's what I think. That's what I think about keeping animals in cages and what we've done to the planet. And I don't usually talk about this kind of stuff because I don't feel like I have the right answers. I don't think anybody has the right answers. I think the only right answer is to change the way we think about our place on this world, and what our responsibility is for the other life on this world. So long video, but I wanted to address this subject since somebody decided to bring it up. I appreciate anybody listening, and I have lots of animals. I take care of them. I do my part. That's how I feel. So thanks for listening. Bye.